Hey, Flophouse listeners. Around now is where you would normally hear me make a mild witticism about the film that we're doing this week before introducing the show. But before we get to that, I just want to introduce, on behalf of our new podcast network, Maximum Fun, the capo di capo of Maximum Fun, Mr. Jesse Thorne.
That is actually on my business card, Stan.
Great.
How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. Just hanging here, trying to pretend it's not awkward to talk on a cell phone and record it.
Yeah, I'm in LA. You're in New York. But yeah, I felt like I should be here to sort of explain what it means that the Flophouse is joining Maximum Fun and that kind of thing. Basically, I guess I'll start with like what Maximum Fun is. We're a network of podcasts that is driven by the themes of culture and comedy, of which, of course, the Flophouse is both. And all of our shows are owned by their creators. And so essentially what we do as a network is provide support for those shows in the same way that, maybe a public radio station provides support for the shows that it carries on its air. You know, we do sometimes have a little bit of advertising, but we're mostly focused on listeners and listener support for our shows. Yeah, I mean, our goal is to make shows like this one a success and make sure that the people who make them can earn money from them, at least enough money for them to be able to continue doing them. Does that make sense, Stan?
Yeah, and listeners of the show probably, if they like me at all and aren't just listening for Elliot and Stu, heard me appear on your podcast, JJ Go, and obviously our friend at The Daily Show, Judge John Hodgman. John Hodgman has his podcast over with you guys, so it seemed like a good fit for us.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're a group of a dozen or so, like it's now up to 15 or so, like-minded shows that have banded together under one umbrella to raise money for all of us, and because we share a common vision and common goals. So the big news here is that there is a new way to support the Flophouse. If you're a big fan of the Flophouse, you want to see it continue and you want to see these guys get paid, the way to do it is become a member of MaximumFun.org. It's easy to do. You just go to MaximumFun.org/donate. When you donate, you will decide an amount of money per month to give. And when you do that, you will tell us what shows you listen to. And the money that you donate goes to the shows that you listen to. It's easy and it's fun. It's great. MaximumFun.org/donate is the place to do it. You even get like thank you gifts and stuff. I don't want to go too far into them because we usually only have one pledge drive a year, but we thought, this is a new thing. These guys could use some continuing support, some money that they can count on. And so that's why we're going to you, the audience, just this one time. And then we won't be back at you until the annual pledge drive, which isn't until late spring.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And, we love putting out the show. We don't particularly do it for the money. I think if you get into podcasting for that, you have been woefully misinformed. But I do think the show, surprisingly enough, does cost a little to put out. And it would be nice to be able to pay my co-hosts for their time. So, if you feel interested in doing so, why not support us through donations at MaxFun?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this, Stan. The reason that I started Maximum Fun was because I felt like people who do work like this deserve to get paid. I mean, I don't, like you said, nobody goes into this expecting to be rich. But the truth is that, if we take you as an example, you have a very demanding day job and you do this because you love it. But if you are paid for your work, it allows you to prioritize your work in a way that you otherwise couldn't. So you can go to MaximumFun.org/donate. You can choose a level at which to donate. You can give $5 a month if you want. Even if you only listen to the Flophouse, that's still an incredibly reasonable amount of money. And I bet there is a lot of crossover in the audience between already extant Flophouse listeners and folks who listen to other MaximumFun.org shows.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to introduce the network and share this with you. So thank you to everybody for donating. And remember that, the money that you donate goes to the shows that you listen to. So go to MaximumFun.org/donate. And I'm really excited about having the Flophouse on board. I personally am a really huge fan of the show. And I was so excited that that you guys are joining up with us. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for welcoming us.
Yeah, of course. Here, have this lay.
Thank you. Ooh, it's sort of snug.
Yeah, well, it's good because it does double duty. It's good for welcoming people to your tropical island. It's also good for garroting people as a mafia hitman.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Is that how that word is pronounced?
Garroting.
Garroting?
Yes, I believe so.
Garroting? Garroting.
Greetings.
Anyway, the moral of this story is go to MaximumFun.org/donate. And welcome, Flophouse, to MaximumFun.org. We are so, so, so happy to have you.
Thank you. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
What just happened? Was there some sort of spirit just snuck in? Some sort of forest spirit?
Quick, throw salt over your shoulder to distract it.
Put some rice in the corner. It has to count the grains before it can chase you.
Okay, well, while it's counting the rice grains, I'm Stuart Wellington.
And I'm Elliot Kalin.
And in the
And yes,
And I'm Hallie Hagley.
You said before we started, don't worry about me.
I was waiting for you. I thought you were going to say who you were.
he
I
did.
I did the first. I was the first person.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it twice. Because sometimes people forget about you.
That's fair. That's fair.
but not tonight, because this is the Flophouse podcast.
I'm the fourth favorite member of the group, and there's only three of us.
After me, Stuart, the house cat, the idea of the platonic Flophouse ideal host, Hallie, and then, of course, a couple other guest hosts. Then there's Bob Barker, former host of The Price is Right. Not to mention the movie The Host.
And there's Dan's phone case.
My phone
Very
case.
popular, yeah.
Why would that be part of the whole conversation?
Have you seen it?
And,
Yeah, I mean, it's in my pocket.
It's a cool case, keeps the phone
Great
safe.
choice,
Thanks.
but it is giving you a run for your money.
you're a little bit above Cole as Ice Flophauser, a.k.a. Cole Hauser, the actor.
Yeah.
So, Dan, what do we do on the Flophouse podcast of which this is?
We watch a bad movie and then we talk about it. And oh boy, this month, it's the holiest of holies. The high holy month of the Flophouse calendar.
They probably knew from the spooky music that was...
With the chains rattling and the witches howling and the werewolves howling and the witch wolves howling.
And the werewitches also howling. And the howling Joe Dante.
But it's Shocktober.
Shocktober?
Shocktober, you say?
So Smallvember is over.
Yeah.
Smallvember.
The relative peace of Smalltember.
Welcome
has
to
passed us.
the hellish maelstrom of Shocktober, when all evil walks the earth and the veil between the other world and this is at its thinnest.
Can you hear that sound? Boogans.
Yes.
Ow, it shocked me.
The curtain between the spirit world and ours is so thin that you can see a ghost's nipple sticking through it.
Yep. When ghosts and goblins and gooblins and
And gorblins.
walk
When
here.
ghosts and ghosts and Ryan Ghostlings.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's a living hell, but funny.
Anyway, the point is, the world is a blasted nightmare, and its name is Shocktober. And we're in it.
Boogans.
Shocktober, you're soaking in it. So, Dan, what happens in Shocktober?
Well, we watch horror movies with a slightly larger frequency than the rest of the
Because
year.
we do watch horror movies in other times of the year.
Yeah, but never
Sometimes
two
horror
in one
movies
month.
are bad.
Yeah.
That's true. Sometimes horror movies are bad.
Often they're bad, I would
Sometimes they're good too, though.
say. Yeah, sure. Thanks.
That's
You're
fun
right.
facts from Stuart.
That's on the bottom of your Stewart trading cards. And so, Dan, we watch horror movies, and we have a special guest with us.
Her name's Hallie Haglund. We talked about it already.
But we didn't introduce her as a out of the ordinary person.
Yeah.
A supernatural guest.
Yeah. Hallie Haglund.
I mean, she kind of has a Halloween name already.
Yeah.
So, Hallie, you love horror movies.
Yeah, sure.
You like being scared.
I love being scared.
You really wanted to be scared tonight, and we tried to tell you. We were like, no, none of the movies we're going to watch.
I mean,
Dan turned off one of the lights.
Any of you guys.
You were shivering at one point. You said, "No, don't go in there." You were holding onto a stuffed animal bunny, saying, "It'll be okay, Mr. Bun Bun. It's just a movie."
I cried. Do you guys know that every October 1st I start praying that I'll see a ghost this month?
Because it doesn't count the other months. You're tired of seeing ghosts in summer.
No, I only
Forget
wanna
it,
see
July
that.
ghost.
Yeah, come on. No, thank you. I don't need a bikini-ready ghost. I want a real ghost.
Real ghosts have curves, people.
Sure.
Trouble with the curves. So, Dan, what movie did we watch?
We watched The Quiet Ones. So named, I assume, because the movie is very quiet, except for when loud noises explode on the soundtrack.
Yeah, and there's only one quiet one in it, so it really doesn't make sense.
Who is it?
The,
Tell me.
the lady
Spoil it
who
for me.
makes all the things happen with her mind.
Also, the one that you weren't aware of because she was just so quiet. Did you guys pick up on that character?
I didn't pick up on that character at
Yeah,
all.
she's only credited in the credits. That's the only way you know she's the character. in
She
the
was
movie.
always off camera and very quiet.
Yeah. She's actually pretty shy. She's just wearing a sweater.
So
The scariest of garments. What could be under that sweater?
it's so hard to tell.
Just a rib cage? Maybe.
It keeps you devilishly warm. Warm. The devil's
What?
Wait,
part
what?
of the thermometer.
Warm the Devils?
Yeah,
What
Warm the
does that
Devils.
mean?
It's a Disney comedy
It's a
from the
Ken Russell
70s.
movie. Warm the Devils.
Warm the Devils. No, that's Wormy Devils. The sequel to Wormy Boners.
Yeah, sure.
Stuart Wellington
It got
film.
the sequel got greenlit?
It got red lit.
Okay, that's good in this case though.
Because it's
Like
hell.
bad as in good, but good as bad, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Slangage. Anyway, let's talk about the movie, The Quiet Ones, since we're now in the depth pits of incomprehensibility in our normal talking. The Quiet Ones takes place in Oxford, England in 1974. Jared Harris, who TV's Lane Price,
And
who will
the
be
bad guy from Fringe.
and the bad guy from the second Sherlock Holmes movie.
Yeah,
and
Moriarty.
Ulysses S.
That's
Grant.
not TV though. That's a
and
movie.
Ulysses S. Grant in Lincoln, which I love Jared Harris. He is hilarious in Lincoln.
Really?
But not, he's just like, well, Mr. President.
Oh, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah. But Jared Harris, an actor I've been a fan of, I'll just say, since I was a teenager. When I saw him in a production of Hamlet, as Hamlet, in
theater
the New Jersey
dropper.
Shakespeare Festival. That's
Again.
right. It's another tale of Elliot seeing an actor on stage. It was
Ooh, spooky.
So he joins he joins the Janks of Jake Gyllenhaal or somebody, right? Who else have you seen on
Ethan
stage?
Hawke. He saw on stage.
Ethan
Jake
Hawke.
Gyllenhaal, Ethan Hawke a number of times, Kevin Spacey. Oh, lots of great actors.
Oh man! And do they every time they look at you and wink?
Yeah, because they
They're
know
like,
I'm in the
"Elliot,
audience.
I'll remember
they,
you forever."
They tug their ear Carol Burnett style at the end when they say goodnight.
Someday you'll put this in a podcast.
It was
this
a
in a
production of Hamlet with Lily Taylor as Ophelia and a number of not as good local actors.
Now, he's Richard Harris's son. Is that correct?
He is, in fact.
That must have been a really good performance. That's a good cast.
Those
the matchup.
those two were good in it. There were other people who were not. The guy who played Laertes was not so great. But Jared Harris did something in that performance that always stuck with me, which
More
is
like
He dropped his trousers.
Farties.
which is he just
That's French for the farties.
which is when they're watching Hamlet and he's acting like he's crazy. Jared Harris had him kind of sleepwalking and then clearly the character knows what he's doing, but he's pretending to be sleepwalking, and he walked right off the stage and fell into the audience. And I remember as the first time as a kid that I saw an actor do something that like breaking the wall or that like physical, and it really stuck with me. So it was a great choice, Jared Harris.
And did the
Sounds
crowd
dangerous. It sounds like he would hurt himself.
Was he
He did,
okay?
though. Yeah, I mean, he
did
popped
the
right back
audience
up.
like crowd surf him back onto the stage?
Yeah. It was just
They
like
caught him. That was
Like,
it was
like Eddie
beautiful.
Vedder or something?
it was just like the end of the subway car sequence in Spider-Man 2. Or actually the end of Hamlet, the Kenneth Branagh movie. I think they crowd surf his body over a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Hamlet.
Or
dies.
like my 8th grade Oasis concert when I crowd surfed over all the people.
How was it?
It was fun.
Yeah.
But you hadn't just died or fallen unconscious.
I mean, I might as well have. I saw Oasis, so why live on?
That's a good point. Anyway, the movie
Surprised
starts.
you haven't torn your eyes and ears off at this point.
Since there's
They're
no-
worthless now.
All you see or hear will be a disappointment from this point on. Jared Harris is an Oxford professor who's one of these professors of supernaturalisms that you see in this and Ghostbusters and other movies.
Yeah, I really wish I had had a class to take like this in college because I totally would have.
Yeah, me too.
Which
I was-
one would you be? Would you be the lady in the hot pants, or would you be the crazy demon lady?
I'd hope the crazy demon lady.
You would be the crazy
I have
demon
some
lady.
self-respect.
Except your
You're more
demons
the Ali Sheedy as opposed to the what's her name?
Molly Ringwald?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody
Ringworm.
forgets her.
yeah, in the
Is that
That's her Shocktober name, Molly Ringworm.
anyway, that's not even a college movie. That's a high school movie.
Helmelio Helstevez was also in
And
it.
of course, Anthony Michael Hell. Now, continuing with this movie, Jared Harris is a professor of parapsychology who is showing his class video of a boy who
That's psychology that you do from a parachute when you're being.
it's parrot psychology.
Yeah.
Yes, you want a cracker, but why? So he says that people who seem to be possessed by demons actually are telekinetics, and the only way that they can express that power without going insane is to project it as some other personality or being that is acting through them. And he hires a local student, Brian, to be the cameraman for his series of experiments in a house somewhere.
After a scene that seemed ripped from
God is
God's
Dead
Not
Lines.
Dead.
That literally, Jared Harris ripped from
Is that the Shocktober version of Headlines?
That's a Shocktober version of Law and Order. The stories are ripped from the deadlines.
Law and Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
Special Graves Unit.
Yeah.
So, Special Coffins Unit, I guess.
All right.
So, there's a scene where it's like he's a professor and he's like, well, the supernatural doesn't exist. So let's look at this thing. And a student is like, what? You're crazy and unethical. And it did feel like God is Not Dead invaded this movie for a moment.
Okay, I did not get that. I did not get that, and this movie makes a lot more sense now that you say that.
Wait, what?
What was happening in that scene?
Yeah, what was happening in the whole movie? I didn't get why he wouldn't just let it be a ghost.
No, well, because he believes that it's a telekinetic problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that he is on the verge of solving the problem of people being crazy by having an experiment with these two guys and this one pretty girl where they have locked another girl in a room. and
Pretty, also.
also pretty, but in a less blonde, trashy way. Mm-hmm. It's your classic
More of
blonde
a-
brunette divide: Betty and Veronica.
Yeah.
Except in this case, the Betty is the mean one because the blonde is the mean one, and the Veronica is the one with the telekinetic demon
A classic
powers.
Thelma and Louise situation.
Yeah, it's a real Scylla and Charybdis.
It's a classic Cagney and Ghosty.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Laverne and Poltergeist. So they have this one girl whose name is Jane. She's possessed by an evil spirit named Evie, but Jared Harris, the professor, believes that she's a telekinetic. She's just making this whole thing up. So they embark on a.
But also, like, Jared Harris is like, okay, if we provoke her into, like, showing her telekinetic powers, we can remove them and solve.
and that will give us the cure for
and solve
crazy.
mental health. It's
But
like.
wasn't it like also we just need to draw her in, we need to draw those energies into a different solid
Oh, yeah. They're gonna
existence.
draw
So they
into
gave her like a doll and they were like, oh, we can just put all the telekinetic energy
This
in
is-
this doll.
this is
Which
Evie
is
now.
crazy, because that's normally what you do when there's a demon, right? Or a ghost.
The
You
science
take that
in this
demon and you put it in something
Well,
else, and
and-
then you
Is a little
burn
weird.
it
It's
up.
like-
I don't know.
Let's
The
just-
middle step in this is question mark, question mark, question mark.
It's the gnome get rich quick scheme
Yeah,
from South
exactly.
Park. Collect underpants, something, get rich, or collect the money. But so They go and they embark on a very monotonous series of experiments that are all shot from shaky handheld camera, where they put
I mean, let's give his camera work a little more credit. I don't think it was shaky.
This is the
was-
first I've heard of this, Hallie. I was complaining about it the whole movie. And now you're going to stick up for him? I think that's crazy.
Yes.
I
Now that
saw
the microphones
several
are on,
tripods
suddenly
employed.
you don't have a problem with it. Let me just explain. Now they embark on a series of dimly lit, monotonous experiments.
Okay, the lighting I'll get on board with, but I don't think there was shaking.
Where in each experiment
I mean,
they
there was not like Parkinson's shaking, but it was shaking.
Daniel.
Take it easy.
All right.
Please,
Hey,
Michael J. Fox.
I
is a national
apologize
treasure.
to all our Parkinson's listeners.
Now, the experiments, they put a brainwave reader headband
Mm-hmm.
on Jane and then just tell her basically, hey, get Eva to come over. Bring out, or Evie, get Evie to come over. And there's some thumping and then like a pipe explodes, something.
Eva's a robot in Wall-E.
Yeah.
Eva's not a demon.
It would be, if Eva came, then they'd learn the meaning of love.
But they're also just trying to keep her disoriented. They're like constantly playing Slade's "Come On, Feel the Noise" to keep her awake. All
and
the
they have
time.
a kind of flashing epileptic light that just swirls around that she has to look at. But every time,
It's supposed to relax her. That was how it was introduced.
but every
Yeah, there's
experiment,
nothing more relaxing than a flashing
then
light.
random well, I guess it's not random.
but a flashing light, or even a rhythmic
It
flashing light.
sends me into a relaxed epileptic fit every time I see it.
Every experiment goes the same. They tell her to bring out Evie. She is like, and then something breaks or
I don't
moves.
think this is such a good idea.
The camera gets knocked over, and they all run around like fools with their heads cut off. Cut to the next day. Hey, I think we did some good work last night. Let's do another experiment tonight. And this happens roughly 400 times in the movie.
But they drink champagne after the escapades to celebrate.
Yeah, they're living the high life. Escapade. Yeah, let's get away. I want to take you on an escapade where we torture a telekinetic girl
Guys.
until she makes a doll explode in flame.
Great shenanigans last night. We totally tortured that girl.
Hey, everybody. Let's
pop some bottles.
Top-notch tomfoolery. Let's pour the bubbly.
Hijinks and Folderol were second to none.
Get some sparkling in here. You rascals. That's Dr. Rascal.
I didn't spend 4 years at rascal school to have you call me.
Anyway,
I mean, I guess if his name's on the building, he should
seems-
get the title.
it seems like Chrissy the blonde
I
is...
came in as a freshman as a little rascal, and now
Now I'm a man.
only 4 years.
rascal.
Anyway.
rascal.
What?
What?
Man rascal, mascal.
Come on.
Keep up.
I'm sorry. I'm so busy trying to talk about the movie while Dan makes up his weirdo words.
Not what this
It's not-
podcast
it wasn't
is about.
even a scary word.
No,
Mascal?
that's why it threw me off. I was like, "How's that like a Crypt Keeper scary pun? Mascal doesn't even make sense.
It scares you with its incomprehensibility. Sure.
It sounds like Metamucil, which is not scary, although it should be. I always imagine it's some kind of goop that
It's a
came off
reminder
a
of your own
ghost.
mortality, dude.
I've had it. It's scary.
So anyway, Chrissy, the blonde, is sleeping with all the guys except for
Cat
Brian.
food?
And Brian has a crush on Jane, the possessed girl. To make a long story short, they keep doing these experiments forever. Tension rises. Everyone gets mad at the professor, and then
Not Mary Jane. Sorry. Keep going.
Keep going.
I apologize.
He's making a Gilligan's Island
at Elliot's
reference, or
He's so upset right now.
so I'm just like, it's not like I interrupt people all the time, but I like to feel my interruptions are of a slight cut above that one. Look, am I innocent here? No, I'm as guilty as the unknew driven snow. And I like to think when I interrupt you, I'm contributing to the conversation,
All right.
whether it be a word that sounds like another word or a poop pun.
All right. Let's
Anyway,
train a rolling.
let's keep this ghost train moving. Casey Jones, get behind the wheel. So tensions rise. Everyone's arguing with everybody else. And we see more manifestations of Evie. Jane's hands catch on fire. At one point, she has like a male voice coming out of her. She gets
that tongue.
She gets really upset, and this long, like, venom tongue comes out of her, but it's like 18 feet long, and it looks like CGI special effects because that's what it is. And they all freak out because they have never seen CGI special effects. This is
No,
the 70s.
70s, yeah.
Whereas now they'd be like, oh, it's like something in a Sci-Fi Channel movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, for
strain.
reasons that are not totally clear, everyone gets mad at everybody, and they kind of break up the group. Brian goes back to Oxford and does some research and finds that
In their like occult book section.
But
Yes.
I think that like the young people kind of form an alliance. Like I don't think there was genuine strife between them.
they argue
No
a lot,
strife
though.
of drive.
But that's just you're
Strife of
working
drive.
together. I mean,
Nice callback, Stu.
Wait, why were you looking at me when you said you're working together in strife? I don't know what that's all about.
Anyway,
Because you guys all work together.
You can't see that. You can't see the hilarious silent take over the podcast airwaves.
just imagine it right now.
Old time radio.
Thunder, thunder. It sure is stormy outside.
Fibber McGee's closet.
Crash,
Full of
bang.
things.
a
Here,
horse is coming.
I'll warm up next to this cellophane. Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. Sounds like flames. Sounds like flames. Knock, knock, knock.
Lamont Cranston.
Is that someone at the door? World the world.
Although the one time they used there was an obvious door opening sound effect in this movie, it totally just sounded like a fart, right?
It's true. There's a scene where they open a door and it sounds like a fart. Yeah.
That was a highlight.
What's the highlight?
What's-
That was early on in the movie where we still had hopes and dreams for
This
it.
is a movie that.
We're still coming up on the other highlight, though. We haven't gotten to that yet. I did like that one bit.
Okay, well, tell me when we get there, because I don't remember it. I remember liking nothing. Anyway, one of the manifestations is a symbol appears on Jane's body that Brian goes to the Oxford Library's occult book section, does some old-fashioned research. It's time to put on the elbow polish and get the gumshoe leather out.
Crack
and
open the
Hit
microfiche.
the Dewey
Pound-
Decimal System.
pound the pavement and do the same thing that always solves problems. Research in the
Do.
library.
E.
Decimal system.
Yep.
Mountain Dewey decimal system.
Totally extreme system of categorization.
Yep. Let's put these books in decimal number points.
This is a religion book.
That goes in, I don't know, 1.78
800 point
thousand.
somethings.
The occult books are filed under
Call in-
Code Red.
Call in librarians. Our lines are
It's type
open.
of Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
It's Red Mountain Dew.
So anyway, it's interesting that Mountain
like
Dew
blood.
became like the extreme drink, since when it was introduced, it was explicitly a hillbilly drink, and all the bottles and cans had different hillbillies on them.
Wait, it was,
I know
it
someone
was?
who
Yeah,
got
Mountain Dew means like moonshine, like it was a hillbilly themed drink.
I mean, it still is pretty much a hillbilly drink, but
But I know someone who once got threshed for drinking so much Mountain Dew. But now I'm thinking maybe it was just a demon.
Wait, somebody who got thrush?
What does that mean?
Wait, what's
like a
that?
bird?
It's like what people with AIDS get
Wait,
when they're
what?
very ill and their throat. It's a sickness in their. Look it up,
An
people.
inflammation.
And it's called
so
thrush?
wait, but it was just from too much Mountain Dew, or was it just drinking Mountain Dew and not having real food?
I think that played into it.
First off,
And
as
the
a
demon
representative of the
worshiping.
Mountain Dew Company,
It's pronounced MTN Dew. We
Yeah.
changed the spelling on the cans because Mountain Dew drinkers don't have time for all the letters.
so you're suggesting that
There's actually no real mountains used in the.
No, we take a mountain and we squeeze the dew out of it. It's a way of tapping the Rockies.
Good job, Hallie. We'll never have Mountain Dew as a sponsor now.
But you are suggesting that
But
perhaps
look
your
up
friend,
thrush,
that it
people.
might have been a demon possession.
Mountain
And
Demon.
also just make sure you don't have it.
Yeah.
You know,
Wait,
it's
thrush?
a sick-
Test.
So
get
wait, is
yourself
that like-
tested, guys?
Can you do
Be
self
safe.
tests?
What if you have Rush, the band?
Well, like on CD?
Yeah. Is that the same thing?
Did you buy it drinking Mountain Dew or?
Yeah. I turned in all my Mountain Dew cans and I got enough to buy a Rush CD. And then the CD got lodged in my throat. So it's Thrush. Anyway, this doesn't make any sense. The point is, he finds out that the symbol on Jane's
Wait,
body.
we can't talk about things that don't make sense anymore in this
Not
podcast?
anymore.
That's gonna
This
be
is
a
now the
problem.
sense-making Flophouse.
We learned about Allie's friend with thrush.
I feel like things just stopped getting polite and started getting real. So, excuse me.
Real talk, Elliot. What happens in the rest of this fucking movie?
So he finds out that it's a symbol from a demon cult led by a guy who suspiciously looks like a young Jared Harris. But
Don't
that
worry,
goes,
red herring,
don't worry,
yeah.
goes nowhere, never remarked upon.
Only
no,
remarked upon by us.
it almost
mainly
feels
Allie.
like the movie is
I was
trying
the
to get.
only one watching it. At
It
that
almost
point,
feels
to be
like the
fair.
movie is trying to
true.
get the characters to understand what's going on, and the characters are too stupid to realize it. The movie is like, guys, Richard Harris is totally a demon type guy. And the character's like, nah, I don't think so. Sorry, movie.
Some of the characters try to leave the experiment only to be almost killed in a steamy room. Like an early Flophouse film, The Chaos Experiment.
Yeah.
But
Or The
then-
Steam Experiment. What was it called?
The Steam Experiment.
The Steam Chaos Experiment.
Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
They all
The Spearmint Gun.
the Chaos Spearmint. I have a theory that global warming can be simulated by giving everyone gum. Professor Val Kilmer, you're wrong. They said I was wrong when they fired me from the gas station I work at. Wait, so are you not even really a professor? Well, I like to think I teach the cars about how to drive more by putting gas in them. Well, yes, it's a liquids curriculum.
I'd like to call myself a Dr. Pepper. That's the soda that I would sell at the gas station.
Hi, Dr. Pepper. Barry Pepper. I have an honorary doctorate. But you can call me Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew, huh? Any other subjects
They're
we want to
cops.
talk about?
One's a doctor, one's a mountain.
movie pitch?
It's a doctor and a mountain who have to team up to solve a crime. The crime, the world's oceans have disappeared. And it seems like the world's most famous ocean thief is still in jail. How could he have done it? Turns out at the end it was his wife.
Okay, well, that seems anticlimactic.
And they have to get there in time to save...
Anticlimactic.
They have to get there in but
the villain anticlimactic.
and climactic. But they have to get there in time to save Billy Ocean, who's been locked up in a room with the other oceans, which are, of course, water. So he's drowning.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so that's a little movie called Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew, Cops on the Run.
Caribbean Queen.
So they go back and confront the professor, and basically, to make a long story short, it turns out Jane and Evie are the same person. Evie is not a figment of her imagination, not a demon or a ghost. Jane was actually a girl named Evie who had paranormal powers and was used in some sort of ritual by a satanic group.
Did you get any of this?
Yeah.
The satanic group was killed in a fire that burned down their house. Turns out
I don't think Dan
Jane
did either.
/ Evie
Not really.
set that fire with her mind to kill them all, but she survived. The cops gave her a new identity so she could start a new life. But
I didn't realize the cops gave it to her.
yeah, but Evie, the
For her
repressed,
birthday.
but her repressed. She's just like Kristen from Top
So
Chef,
nice of them.
who was given a name by the police
right.
in Korea. But anyway, that's for Top Chef fans.
But they went on to have such different destinies.
Yeah, one became a model and a Top Chef champion. The other eventually died because her demon self
Spoiler
exploded.
alert, dude.
So anyway, I'm getting to that point.
Wait,
though.
for the Top Chef person or for...
Kind of.
Evie Jane uses her powers to kill a couple people. It's only Brian and the professor left. The professor beats up Brian. He's unconscious. The professor ties him up and decides
Oh, yeah, that was great.
he's
That
gonna
was the part you were talking about.
he's gonna stop.
Well, no, but
He's going to stop
We'll
Evie
circle
Jane's.
back.
He's going to stop Evie Jane's heart so that the negative telekinetic energies can vaporize or something. But Brian doesn't like it, and he continues to punch Brian like pretty often.
yeah,
Well,
Jared
well,
Harris really beats the shit out of this kid.
And but
Like there are times when he just like excessively walks over and just kicks the kid who's still down.
yeah,
Which is pretty funny.
Brian manages to escape, and he brings Jane back to life. But then she locks herself in her room and kills herself by immolating herself with fire. Cut to Brian, now looking a lot crazier, is sitting in a chair being
And kind of fatter. Did anyone else
yeah,
pick
he
up
looks
on
fatter
that?
and older.
Bloated.
It looked like it was.
I mean, he probably has a lot of salt in the institutional food.
Yeah.
no, but it looked like he had gotten there for like his 20-year high school reunion or something.
Guys,
That's how
let's
much
meet
older
back
he
here
is.
in 20 years if we're still all not on fire.
And he tells them that everyone died because of this telekinetic ghost demon thing. They're saying, no, there's no film. All the film burned up in the house, and Brian
All of his
starts...
amazing
They're
footage
accusing
burned
him.
up.
They're saying you killed him.
They're saying you killed everybody, and Brian starts laughing, and his hands start to smoke, just like Janie's did. And then the movie cuts out, and everyone's left disappointed. So let me be honest with you. This was not a very good movie, but there were times during the movie when I was like, you know what? This could turn into like a so-so, like okay, stupid horror movie. It doesn't have to be great. Sure, it's poorly lit. You can't see what's going on half the time. Sure, they're just repeating the same scenes over and over again. But look, there was some genuine tension at times. I like Jared Harris a lot. He's a great actor. the movie then
Yeah,
managed
yeah. I mean,
to-
you've seen him perform on stage. So.
as Hamlet, the greatest of dramatic roles.
What- so what's
John Barrymore performed that role, as did Ralph Richardson.
But what is the motivation for being in this movie if you're him? I don't.
Cha-ching!
But do you
That's a
really
cash
think it's like a cha-ching?
Oh, I forgot to mention, it turns out that the little boy that Jared Harris has film of him trying to help release this evil telekinetic power, it turns out was his son.
Okay.
And that's why he's so dedicated to this. Why would Jared Harris do it? I wouldn't be
He's
surprised
got a
if...
lead role.
Yeah, it's a lead role for a guy who's usually a supporting player, and as someone who...
I mean, he's not the lead role, though. I think we all know it's the romance between.
Jane and Brian.
Yeah.
So it's not
Joyce
either of those
and-
characters, but the romance is the lead.
Exactly.
It's an intangible lead. That's why the posters said, the romance between Brian and Jane in The Quiet Ones.
Said starring romance.
Quiet
And introducing
Puns?
the romance, The Quiet Buns. It's a bakery movie about a deaf baker. It's just like that Silence of the Lambs.
Normally, a baker can hear the buns bake, but this deaf baker cannot.
It's also called Silence of the Buns.
He
Now,
just has to use his nose now.
yeah, he bakes by nose.
But
I mean, he
his
can see
nose
also,
Is heightened.
Starring Gerard
He
Depardieu.
wears a
Strangely-
blindfold.
just to keep it, just to make it.
to be double blind.
Stage.
Although the thing is, the nose would help you much more in baking than your ears ever would. You're not. It's not going to hear the buns being like, "I'm done now." You would smell it though.
Are you a baker?
I'm not a baker. I'm just
I
a
thought
faker.
that's what.
Are you a candlestick maker?
I have made a candlestick or two.
Here's what I
Now,
like.
but I wouldn't be surprised if Jared Harris, being from the UK, has some nostalgia for Hammer films, and this is one of the films from the new, brought back to life, revived from the dead, you might say,
Yep.
Hammer horror films.
Like a
And
regular Frankenstein.
this is Monster.
Like
and
an
Hammer,
irregular friend.
and Hammer is, I mean, I have a nostalgia for Hammer films, and I grew up decades after their heyday and not in England.
Me too. I was a huge fan of him, not only in his heyday, the pants era, but also.
You really didn't want him to hurt them. Please, Hammer horror films, you said, don't hurt them.
No other movies can touch you.
It was too legit
This movie is too legit to
to
watch.
stop making.
Adam's Family.
But this movie ended up just really
No.
disappointing me in a way that I was mad about.
The scene that I was referencing that I liked was the scene where the
Where the girl takes a bath. Yeah. And you
That
see
was
her
fine.
nipple for like a second.
That was a
Half
good
a
scene.
second.
Barely even, not
But-
even.
But I also enjoyed the scene where the main guy's like, "Look, no one's gonna believe this, even if we're filming it. There could be all these tricks." And he's like, "Oh, there could be something hidden inside this doll," and he just like stabs the doll to show that there could be something inside of it. And then upstairs, the lady screams, and she's like all bloody.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
And then,
Yeah.
and then in the next scene, like they give her the doll as if to say, like, "Here, you hold this.
Maybe
It's
you have
probably
the-
safer with you.
You have the best motivation for not stabbing this doll.
Yeah. Thanks for stabbing my doll. That was really great. When
Well, I mean, she ripped all the fucking hair out of it. Like, at that point, you're like, fuck it. You can do whatever you want to this doll. It's garbage.
It's like one of the misfit toys in Sid's bedroom in Toy
so-
Story.
so you
What's a
should stab
hairless
it.
doll.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, lost all its retail value, I'd say.
You gonna resell it?
On the secondary doll market.
The doll black market.
There was a 99-cent store in a mall near where I grew up, and I remember once just poking through it when I was waiting for a movie. Like, there's a movie theater in the mall, and I was waiting for the time to go to the movies, and then like just poking through the stuff in
What
the
were you
bins
going to
and
see?
finding.
Like, baby last dinosaur?
Yeah, probably like Jerky Boys or something. But I remember,
Probably searching for Bobby Fischer.
yeah, that's what it was. As a kid, I loved
Where
chess
is he?
movies.
Do you know the only movie I ever walked out of in the theater was Searching for Bobby Fischer?
What's weird is that Searching for Bobby Fischer
It's not a bad movie.
I know.
No, it's okay. Searching for Bobby Fischer was such a loose adaptation of Where's Waldo. I don't even remember the chess plot from Waldo Waldo.
And it's weird that
Why
they
would you
changed
change
the name.
Waldo's name?
They want it to be less ethnic.
Well, there was a lot of There was a lot of Fido Dido stuff going on at the time, and they thought Waldo sounded too similar. Now, and I remember.
So wait, why do you leave the theater?
I don't know. I was like, I'm so outraged at how bored I am.
searching for Bori Fisher.
But there was like a very attractive TBCY right next to the movie theater.
What do you mean very attractive?
So-
Like it was in a Speedo? What is?
Wait, so
It was kind of aloof.
but you saw it you saw this before you entered the theater.
But it's all
and
she
then it
could
was
think
just
about.
like in your head. The
couldn't
whole
I was just
about
like,
it.
oh,
She's like,
God.
I could be a TCB.
I'm seeing my next move, and it's
I took
TCBY.
this movie called Searching for the Best Yogurt. Now, here's the story I was just going to tell, and it's boring, so I'll tell it quick. But I was searching through the bins at this 99-cent store, and there was just a doll's
Searching
head in one of the bins. And I was like, was this attached to a doll at any point, or are they just trying to sell the head? And I immediately
I
wanted
don't
to
see
buy
a
that
price
head.
tag, so maybe it's a patron.
Sorry, doll's head. I forgot what you were shopping here.
This collection of Stewart's trading cards are all mine.
I'll just barter. Make best offer.
How do I get for this doll's head? I gave you 3 bookmarks and 1 slap bracelet. This is the kind of stuff I'd have on me as a kid.
Or the barter system. As
I
we
don't
remember
believe
before.
you had
Here, have
slap
half a drink.
bracelets on you.
I
I had
you.
slap bracelets.
He had
I'll give
those.
you
He
3
didn't have
dinosaurs
friendship
attacks cards.
It's like, no, they're friendship bracelets. Those are slap bracelets.
My friend slapped that on me.
My friends slap me all the time. Really, handcuffs are the ultimate slap bracelets. Now, so here's the thing about this movie. Why? Dan.
Oh, wait. Oh,
So
are we
you
gonna
like
do-
that one scene where the doll gets stabbed and she's stabbed,
Sure.
and that is a good scene. I'll give you that. That
Yeah.
in a better movie, that would have been a very memorable scene.
I mean, also in a bad movie, it was a very memorable scene because it was surrounded by dross.
So a couple of things that so this movie went too often to the well of mixing the dialogue very low, only to have the occasional like
Really
scares super loud.
Bum, bum,
It's such a
bum.
common thing. The other thing is,
But by the way, I will say I'm so vulnerable to that usually, and I was not scared at most of those surprising moments.
when like the camera fell on the floor and then loud noises.
Yeah, it didn't get me. I mean, I was watching it with you jerk offs.
And the lights were pretty loud.
We were jerking off the whole time, so you were feeling more disgusted than scared.
I was just
And by
uncomfortable,
jerking off,
too.
we
was
were
feeling scared,
turning
but-
off our Jerky Boys tapes.
Callie was like, turn those Jerky Boys tapes back
How
up.
can you even understand 3 different Jerky Boys tapes playing at the same time? Also, shouldn't you have those on CD? They're from the mid 90s, early 90s, let's say. But let's say this for the movie: the blonde girl in it wore a couple different hats.
She
Hats.
wore many
Yeah.
hats.
My favorite comment throughout the movie was Stewart's that we knew she was gonna die because she stopped wearing hats.
She had lost her reason to live.
We knew they were phasing her out when she stopped wearing those great hats.
We ran out all the hats for her. Time to kill this character.
Now this is a movie that feels like it wanted to be an R-rated movie, but was PG-13. Like it kept avoiding showing nudity or blood in a way that was
For a movie
For a
with 2
horror movie.
bathtub scenes, there was basically no nudity.
and for let's face it, like a Hammer movie, like Hammer horror movies, kind of revolutionized blood in English horror movies at the very least. Like to have a squeamish, not bloody Hammer movie is really like they were pretty lurid for horror movies of the 50s through 70s. So to have this be kind of like, bleh, okay, something bad's gonna happen, but it'll happen off screen.
So this is also weird because for a movie
Christopher
that,
Lee would be rolling in his grave if he was not still alive.
I mean, he probably still sleeps in a coffin,
You know
right?
what I mean, he's Dracula. There's an episode of I forget what chat.
How
what
I Met Your Mother.
There's an I forget what interview chat show it is on England where Christopher Lee was the guest, and the episode's from either the late 70s or early 80s, and the host comes out. I want to say it's like Terry Wogan or something. He comes out in a coffin in a cape. And he walks over to where Christopher Lee is sitting there, and Christopher Lee is noticeably unamused. he does not care for all this Dracula shenanigans. He's like, why aren't you asking me about Count Dooku, the character I'm working on for the next 20 years?
My next count.
Well, it's like when in the deleted, like in the special features on Attack of the Clones, where George Lucas turns around a Yoda stand-up that has Dracula fangs on it in front of Christopher Lee, and you can see Christopher Lee's like, how do I deal with this and not lose this gig?
Oh, why aren't people making Saruman jokes?
We should wrap this up with our Shocktober final judgment.
Oh, is it spookily
Remind me.
batifying?
No.
Scarily good?
No.
Or wormily not so good?
No. The categories is it totally scarifying, totally snorifying, or frighteningly funny? Elliot?
I'm going to have to go with totally snorifying on this. It had the potential to be totally scarifying at times, but then it was not.
Yeah, I'm going to say totally snorifying. Jared Harris was good. The movie was not.
Jared Harris is good. I mean, Jared Harris does a lot of good with his part.
Yeah.
And he is...
I hate to say his name in the same sentence as snorifying.
He is never snorifying, and only once was he frighteningly funny in Lincoln. So, but otherwise, he's really great. So, Stuart, you say snorifying or no?
Yeah, I'll go snorifying. I feel like for a movie that it's surprisingly boring. There's a lot of like cheap
Totally
scares.
borifying.
And they could have put a little more effort into just building the world to make the few scares that they did have pay off more.
Yeah. Give us some more character. Give us some more setting. Some more anything.
Motivation, for fuck's sake.
You were saying if this is an element, it would be boron. Hallie, what do you say?
I don't
It
put
was
words
boring.
in my mouth. It was boron.
was so snorifying.
Yeah.
So before we move on to our next segment, there's a little housekeeping.
Should like Windex and stuff? Do we need that?
Yeah.
Give me the duster.
First off, by now,
Also, house cat.
listeners will know because of the intro. We have joined the Maximum Fun network of podcasts.
We wanted to join the Maximum Overdrive network of podcasts, but Stuart got hit in the crotch with a soda can, spat out of a evil soda machine. So we decided not to join.
But just to answer,
It's a Maximum Overdrive
yeah,
thing.
sure, Emilio Estevez and whatnot. There's a Green Goblin.
I believe his name was Helmelio Helstevez
But
of the Dead Fist Club.
But just wanted to answer a few questions before they're asked. Number one,
8 inches.
we've had no falling out with All Things
That's
Comedy.
how tall an 8-inch person is. No, this was a very amicable split.
Yeah, we're still friends with our good friend Mr. Owl Magical.
Who is a fantastic and amazing person.
Yes.
Irreconcilable differences. That's what I heard.
I don't know where you heard that from. But,
Just All Things Comedy's goals were different than ours, so we feel like Max Fun seemed
So
like
you
a better
couldn't make a
fit.
life together. You didn't want to raise each other's. You didn't want his children in the
Each
same way.
other's children?
We didn't want to eat each other's children.
yeah, we were doing an old child swap. They were going to raise our children. We were going to raise their children. This was
What
one of
a
those cases.
nightmare.
Usually, the phrase "creative differences" is used to paper over a real disagreement, but this
And
was
I heard it was used in this instance.
no. But this was a case where, as
you are
Dan
really
said,
stirring the shit.
their ends and our ends are not the same, and this feels like a better fit. They want world domination, and we're just trying to put out a good podcast.
Yeah.
We're just a couple of dudes hanging out, man.
With one dudette, the house cat. That's right, the house cat's a
Man,
woman.
2 of them in one episode.
This is amazing.
So, but also, just to reassure our listeners, nothing's going to change under our new Max Fun home.
Except Stuart's being fired.
Yeah, I'm being fired.
Same.
Who's replacing me again?
I think Cole Hauser.
Oh, okay, I'll allow it.
But he wants to be called the Slaw.
Oh, that's
Which I don't
interesting.
like
What-
coleslaw Hauser.
Okay,
or
that's
the
weird.
Slaw. I think it's weird, but he loves mayonnaise.
Okay.
Same
Or
show.
Dan Nays. It's mayonnaise made by Dan.
Oh.
You may,
Crypt Keeper's product, Mayhem Nays.
if you hear any differences in the show,
Mayonnaise.
it'll just be that we'll now be promoting other Max Fun podcasts, and we'll take part in their donation drive in the spring. Speaking of which, their donation drive is not until the spring. So if you want to support the Flophouse through donations, you can go to maximumfun.org/donate and specify that you're donating for the Flophouse.
But they've got a lot of great podcasts. There's Fishbowl, Meat Talkin',
No, these are not actual.
Up in the Sky,
No.
Flieger Bombers.
Who brought that sandwich?
That's a good one where every week they talk about a guy who brought a sandwich somewhere.
French
Historically.
braids.
French Braids is a good one. Let's not forget World of Gorm. And of course, there's also Fan Blasters, the fan review site, where they review different
None of
types
these
of
are
ceiling
real.
fans.
And is that a wart?
I mean, it's
Turns out most of the time it is.
it is, yeah. There's a visual component, but you don't want that. And of course, door cats.
Okay, well, thanks for
Can
all
a
those
cat
lies.
and a door be the same? We find out in door cats.
They ask the hard questions. Hard like a door.
Soft like a cat.
pH
Made
balance for you.
Made for a cat, but I like it too. Why are you eating cat food, Grandpa?
Oh, what's that? Was it the door
Door
slowing?
Really? Because it sounded like hands clapping.
Sounds like somebody showed up and gave the house cat a high five.
Foley effects. Stomping, punch sounds.
Cram.
The sound of
Slambo.
buffalo running. Slambo.
Wait, what is that the sound effects? for?
Rumple.
What's that the onomatopoeia for?
Dan's just making up sounds.
Quisp. Okay. So,
Buskunk.
speaking of donations, thanks to Jill H. for her way too generous donation.
Thanks, Jill.
Thanks, Joe.
My
what was it like?
sister's name is Jillian, and my last name is Haglund. Do you think it was her?
It probably was. Probably was.
How generous was like $1 million?
Thank you.
Yeah, we can retire.
Yay!
So thanks to Maximum Fun, we're not making any more shows.
Yeah. Maximum Fun, of course, was founded by Maxwell Funenstein.
Okay.
Sure.
He named it after himself, Max
German.
Fun.
Trying to
Okay.
move on.
Yeah, yeah.
German descent.
Maxwell Funenstein of Stuttgart.
Oh, interesting.
And he had a vision.
I mean, that's a southern town, so he should have visions.
Yeah, he had a simple vision, a world with only Germans in it.
Oh, weird.
Luckily,
That's
his
uncommon
vision,
in Germany.
Max Fun has kind of changed its precepts over time. Now it's more about fun podcasts like Floor Stompers, TV or Yes TV, the Radiator
Those are
Talks,
the options?
the Guinness podcast of World Steckers.
Checkers.
World Checkers. Let's see.
Okay.
And
no.
what was that podcast you were on, Hallie?
Rugs.
No, that was the one about toupees and carpets, right?
Yeah. And we had to guess which one.
Yeah, and let's not forget Bag Fuckers. The only podcast where they review the sexual possibilities behind different bags.
I mean, that one doesn't pull any punches.
No.
Oh, no.
bags.
But I'll tell you what...
He's not afraid who it offends.
Yeah,
tell you-
try to ride a subway without getting a boner after that podcast.
But I'll tell you what podcast does pull its punches. Punch pullers. Do you have a punch that needs pulling? Call the punch pullers. They'll travel anywhere in the country and pull a punch for you.
Hey, you pulled my punch.
Right. Jesus Christ. I've got two more
He's got a
announcements.
podcast
That's
on
another
Max Fun,
podcast too. Jesus Christ, I got more letters.
And it's a guy reads
even
letters to
gotten to the
Jesus.
letters.
Jesus answers them.
Just two more quick announcements. As of this taping, there's still 12 seats for the Yonkers show on
the
October the
fuck out of
18th
here.
left.
How are there still 12 seats left? This is I know who killed you
Perfect
people.
for the disciples.
Yeah.
You're right. If you're the apostles,
Oh yeah, that's
The disciples are the apostles' enemies in WCW.
yeah, it's the other softball team in the intramural Jesus softball league.
So
so
get on
show
that.
up those apostles, disciples.
Anyway.
and sign up now.
There's 12 seats left. You can still buy the tickets, but don't. I would advise against showing up on Yonkers Day and getting tickets. Trying to get tickets day of. It's not going to happen.
And by the way, happy
Traffic on-
Yonkers Day.
Traffic on Yonkers is terrible.
Oh, it's awful. But the Yonkers Day Parade is one of my favorite. So many Yonkers. Founded by Jebediah Yonker, Yonkers Day celebrates all that is Yonkers.
It started Yonk,
Streaming
and then it
Yellow
just got
Junker.
Yonker. And
Jebediah known for creating Mountain
okay.
Dew from his mountain fastness.
And lastly, in the announcement section, by the time you hear
Lastly, Lagland.
this, voting, by the time you hear this, voting will be open for our contest seeking the new song of the autumn.
Song
So-
of the autumn.
Last
Go
last
to-
autumn song was, of course, he's the house cat. Parentheses Arthur's theme.
Yeah. But if you go to flophousepodcast.com, I'll have all the songs up for you to vote.
How many
on
options
them.
are there? How many candidates?
As of right now, I think there are 9 or 10 of those.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go there and vote.
Are any of them from David Byrne?
No,
It's going to be tough because you're picking between all champions. Mm-hmm. But you have to pick one.
Unfortunately, as with Highlanders, there can only be one.
But now, moving into
Everything's
letters.
butts with you.
Yeah, everything is butts. Our first letter of the evening.
First letter of the evening. First letter of the night. First letter for a time of fright. It's Shocktober letters tonight.
Boo.
Cuddle up close to someone who can protect you from the ghosts in the letters. They're ghost written because they're ghost letters. Shocktober ghost letters like this. Dear Flophouse, I'm a ghost. I lost my keys. Do you know where? I'm a ghost. No pockets in here. I can get through the door.
Should I tie a knot?
Hallie, I don't know what that means.
Why is this ghost asking about his keys? Like, asking
Because he lost them.
When you lose something, you should tie a knot.
I lost
This
my
letter
keys.
song got weird.
I lost my keys. You know, like you'd lose the cure for cancer.
Yep.
Ghost Connery.
I found the cure for pizza, but I lost it. Kind of like how you lose your cheese. I've been workshopping this Medicine Man, Pizza Man reboot.
Yeah, you're gonna do that down. You're gonna do that at Caroline's. See how that works out.
Caroline's in the city. So continue with the letters, Dan. Now that my song was rudely destroyed by Hallie.
So this is called. It goes like this: Joyous Shocktober, Flophouse, or should I say, Boyless Shocktober, Chop House.
Pretty
Yep.
good.
With the
That's good.
approach of the spookiest of all months, I've realized I've got a few totally scarifying questions begging to be released from the dungeons of my mind, and I was hoping the original Moldy Peaches could answer them for me. However, that indie band has been on hiatus for about a decade, so perhaps internet radio's favorite ghostly trio can answer them for me. The first
Quattro.
Why
Or
can't we be a
perhaps
heroic
worst.
trio?
goes to Boort Skellington.
Okay.
Do you prefer your mid-'80s through early '90s creature features to have a heavy metal song or a hip-hop track playing over the end credits? I'm partial to the ending rap songs from Waxwork 2, Lost in Time, and Maniac Cop 2, but do have a soft spot in my heart, or someone's heart, for Dream Warriors by Dokken from Nightmare 3 and Man Behind
Stuart's
the
favorite
Mask
song.
by Alice Cooper.
That's the thing. The Dream Warriors by Dokken is great, and I remember when I'm sure I've shared this story, but Dan and I watched that watched on like VHS or some shit.
Yeah.
And after the movie, they showed the music video, and at the music video is like Dokken hanging out in a fucking dreamscape, rocking out. And after the video, it cuts to
rocking
Freddy
like
Krueger
Dokken.
in bed, and he wakes up from this horrible nightmare. And I guess he's like wearing all his gear and shit. And he looks at the camera and he's like, "Who were those guys?" Which is awesome because it's like Dokken, I guess, scares Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
They're too hardcore.
the Guns N' Roses waste of ammunition bit from the end of from the You Could Be
T2,
Mine
yeah.
video.
And that Terminator recognizes each of the members of the band.
Yeah, because the Terminator's not going to waste his ammo on Guns N' Roses. They're going to be shitty in like 20 years.
He's like, I'll let them destroy themselves with Chinese democracy.
So, all right. So that's, I assume, a vote for the rock.
Always rock. The thing is that I love the. There's nothing better than a movie that ends with a guitar squeal.
So the second...
That's more of a
that's-
big oink.
It's pretty like-
I mean, a movie that ends
that's
with
not what
those
it
is okay
squeals
too.
outside.
The second question, which is more of a deadtion, is for Elliot Whalen. Who do you prefer? Or if a ghost was asking this question, boo, 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 prefer.
This
Boris
is really
Karloff
going way overboard.
or Bela Lugosi. Personally, I became quite the fan of Mr. Karloff after reading the excellent biography Boris Karloff, A Gentleman's Life. However, Mr. Lugosi did meet a Brooklyn gorilla.
It's very true. I have gone actually back and forth between the two of them throughout my life. For a long time, I was a much bigger Boris Karloff fan, and I really didn't like Bela Lugosi when I was younger. And then, as I got older, I came to get him more, and I go back and forth on him. But it's hard for me to pick a favorite. They both have such unique styles, and they both have such different feels to them. The kind of decadent old world Eastern Europe of Bela Lugosi, and the sophisticated yet monstrous English qualities of Boris Karloff. So no, they're both great, and it's hard to choose, and that's why The Black Cat is my favorite of their movies, because they're both in it, and they're both great in it.
Just so you guys know, Lulu is doing a lot of crazy shit on the rug right now, so it's hard for anyone to pay attention.
Lulu is desperately trying to take.
Hallie means Hallie.
And that's the thing is that
If she's not talking, it's because she's
Watching a cat play with a toy mouse.
Lick a toy.
The least crazy thing a cat could do.
I sense Elliot's a little upset that we're not paying attention to him right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm talking important stuff here. Karloff and Lugosi.
All right, so for
I
my
also,
last...
and I have to say though, also it's hard for me now to not feel more sympathy for Bela Lugosi since Boris Karloff
I
had.
thought you were going to say it's hard for me to not feel more sympathy for cats now that I have a baby.
Nope, not a sentence that was going to come out of my mouth.
They're basically the same
They're
thing.
very similar, and not at all. But it is.
They both roll around, they lick stuff.
They do really cute things that preoccupy you.
That's true. They both can't control their own pooping.
Actually, cats can. They
Then
have
that's
a place
one up
for
for
it.
cats. Point cats in this one. Boris Karloff's life went a lot better than Bela Lugosi's, and so I feel kind of like the sympathy for Bela Lugosi too.
Yeah.
I was thinking Bella Caroli this whole time, so I was a little
Gymnastics
confused.
coach.
Yeah, more sympathy for
Who can
Bela
forget when
Caroli.
Kerry Strug landed on
Yeah.
that fractured leg, and then Bela
he was
Lugosi swooped in and carried her away?
He's like, you can do it! And then he sucked the blood out of her.
My gymnast of the night, what sweet jumps you make!
Thanks for the effort.
I'm bats over you. That's the vampire Valentine's Day card. You drive me batty. It would suck if I didn't know you.
And for the
That's
last,
my Valentine.
Are you sick? You seem to have a little cough in. That's a stretch.
a little
It
coffin.
was a big
Yeah,
stretch.
because she's tiny.
Yeah.
She's a gymnast,
She's
dude.
a child who died. You've got a little coffin.
Yeah, like Casper, the friendly dead kid.
So,
Did he have legs?
all right, guys.
Yes.
So he's like not me?
Yeah, I don't know and not me were Casper's brothers.
Yeah, he's not you, Stuart. You're not dead.
What's happening?
Wait, what?
Was there going to be a question for
come
you, Dan?
on.
Yeah, for his last question, he says he turns to the creepinardo of the group, Dank Bones McCoy. Bones, you've recommended many films to watch while you're on an airplane, but what if that
nickname.
airplane was flying into hell?
Like an Event Horizon?
Yeah, and this is from Charlie McCorn on the Macabre. I'm going to go with Tail Sting, the movie about giant scorpions on a plane that came out several years before Snakes on a Plane. 2001, a good, bad movie.
Okay.
So,
Really? So your plane's flying into hell. This is probably the last movie you'll ever see, and you chose Tail Sting.
all right, I want to change it.
I'm assuming that if he's going to hell, he's going to be watching a lot of movies. Possibly the quiet ones on repeat.
Yeah.
If I'm going to hell, maybe, I don't know, Emmanuel?
Wait, the first one?
Yeah, I don't know.
You want
Not
one of the later
Emmanuel in
ones.
space?
So this next one
Really a TV series.
goes like this. Hallie's so excited.
Hallie is very distracted
that
by
the-
this cat.
Well, Lulu doesn't normally hang out with other people, but she has found a kindred spirit in Hallie.
Well, Hallie
Okay,
is cat spirit.
podcasting.
Hello, fellows. It's well established that your wives don't have any interest in the gobbledygook that you post on iTunes for the world to see.
Very true.
Wait, well, that's not true. Your wife doesn't.
She has no interest.
I think Charlene listens, right?
She
I know
does, yeah.
Sarah listens. So I guess what does it feel like to have a wife who doesn't care about you, Elliot?
I mean, in some ways, it's nice that my wife doesn't care about
she
this
reads
junk.
all. She reads all the comics you write, right?
Yeah.
Well, really?
Well, most of them, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
She watches the show I'm the head writer for.
What's that? The John Oliver one?
Yeah. It's called
Roasted.
Boom.
Burned.
It's for a podcast I do for Max Fun called Microphone Guys.
Yeah.
There are a couple of guys with a microphone,
Anyway, the
but
point,
just one, so it's not recorded that well.
point is that
The Point Break.
Actually, 2/3 of our wives do listen to the show, but this guy's
It's
question
always wives' butts with this guy.
is What of your private lives? What is the relationship between each flopper's respective wife and the two men with whom he spends way too much time?
What are you implying?
And have they bonded together like the wives of the Project Mercury astronauts because no one else could possibly understand? That's from Dan, last name withheld.
Dan McCoy. Thanks for writing in, Dan.
Surprised there wasn't something in there about how great Dan is.
I know. I know the Flop Wives went on the Real Flop Wives of Kings County and went on a trip to a Russian spa at one point.
They do stuff together sometimes.
Yeah. I'm assuming in no way do they talk about bad movies or their husbands.
Not at all. Every now and then, I'll bring up to Danielle the idea of doing a wives episode of the Flophouse where our wives
Mainly
watch
as a
movie.
goof, right? To
And,
fuck with her.
and every time she says, "I would rather not do that."
They all like each other though. I mean, like I
No,
think
they get
that
along very well. Yeah.
I think that maybe they would not have come to know each other. I mean, like they certainly would not have come to know each other
If we weren't
friends. But now they are all independently friends with each other, and
independently wealthy.
and all of them, I would say, are friends with each of us.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you saying? Charlene doesn't like me?
No, that was shit. I didn't want to do this. Could just
Not like is such strong language. She despises
Yeah.
you.
well.
Weird that, I mean, like it's weird that she comes over to the house sometimes when you're not here. It seems like she wouldn't do that if we weren't pals.
What is this, Lake Consequence?
Yeah, it is. It's Solomon
Just
King's
kidding.
Lake Consequence.
It's Temptation Island.
So, Hallie, what's going on?
I was
How's that
playing
cat treating you?
She was good. She was so friendly.
This is
Yeah.
a very unfocused episode of the Flophouse.
Well, what? The questions are directed at you guys. You want me
Jump
to wait?
in.
That's why I tried to ask you a question. What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Bring you back into the
yeah. I love all your wives.
Thanks.
They're all great. They're
Hot.
really nice.
Dan, don't be creepy.
Purposoid
Purposoid number one, everybody.
The last question for the night. Since movies are such a big part of your lives, I was wondering where it all began for each of you. In other words,
Well, when a man loves a woman very much,
in other words,
and the woman loves the guy, I guess so-so.
in other words, what are your first movie memories? Mine is of seeing The Mask of Zorro with my parents, and well, I wouldn't recommend it. Signed, Batman, real name withheld, Wayne Manor, Gotham City, USA, Earth 2. So,
Wait, Earth 2?
Yeah.
So it's the bad guy Batman.
apparently. Hallie, why don't you? This is a
I guess
question you
my
can
first-
actually answer.
My first question would actually be like, did we ask you what your favorite movies are? No, we didn't. JK. Just kidding. I was
Thanks
just
for explaining the.
JK means Joker to him. He thinks that was the threat.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Earliest movie memory, Hallie.
Well, I thought of a joke thing.
Okay, say it first, and then
Oh,
say
I
the
was
real
gonna say when I found my. Oh no!
one. Say it. What?
You're the one who
You brought it up.
you
Now you-
introduced something.
When I found my parents' better sex videos that are just instructional videos about how to have sex.
Is that
Oh
true?
my God,
Yeah, they exist.
Were they? Were they good? I
Were they
or
cassette tapes or?
or were they like the old Joy of Sex things where you got like the illustrations of like super hairy 1970s people having sex with each
Why
other?
do they draw them hairy?
It
I
was
don't know.
from
It
the
was the
time
time.
when
No. Okay,
Harry
so
was
the thing is,
disliked.
there's a professor with a bow tie in part of it, and then there's like a lot of sex in part of it.
Yeah.
Is it the professor with the bow tie having the sex?
No, he's like, this is how you have sex in a pool, and then it cuts to people having
But
sex.
did you learn a lot?
We know a
from
website
it?
that's interested in that. So,
Continue.
so it's kind of like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I mean-
the criminologist is just narrating while the others are having
Wait,
their
Yeah.
adventure.
what was the advice on having sex in a pool? Because I would not recommend it. That's not a good lubricant. Water.
Well, wait.
When did this become a sex how-to
I'm just
podcast?
curious what the.
I mean, I was
How to have
young.
sex
It was
in
the
a pool.
90s, probably. Maybe the 80s.
It was the 90s. Everyone was watching sex videos back then.
In school, we were watching them.
So that sounds like a great memory.
But that's not real. I
No.
really hope my parents don't listen to your podcast, do they?
They
I
listen
mean,
a lot.
You told
yeah.
the story of how your mom had someone in her class come up to her and ask whether.
Oh, hey, whoever that was, can you just
Real talk.
keep this between us?
Mm-hmm.
So what was the question?
First,
First
movie memory.
Pet Cemetery.
Oh shit, that's a good
Hard
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or-
that was so scary. I had this really good friend, Hillary Power, and
If you're listening, Hillary Power.
Don't
Hillary
tell
Power.
Hallie's mom.
you're great. She was the first person I ever
Don't ever
smoked a
change.
cigarette with at a very early age.
3.
And she also exposed me to Pet Cemetery. And I remember, even though I would smoke a cigarette with her, I still had to call my mom to pick me up in the middle of the night because I was so scared from Pet Cemetery. That's a little Shocktober memory for you guys.
My first memory was not as interesting as either of Hallie's. My parents took me to see Never Cry Wolf in the theaters. If
I don't know that.
That's a movie
Brotherhood of the
about
Wolf?
no, Never Cry Wolf. It's about a
Dan wasn't allowed to watch movies.
It's
until
about a
Brotherhood of the
researcher
Wolf.
who goes and lives with the wolves in Alaska. And I remember it being very good, and I remember very little about it other than there was a scene where the guy like jumps up naked because there's like a bunch of like a herd of moose or antler
Caribou or something?
caribou something
Princess
going
Caribou's
through.
run by.
And I think Brian Dennehy is in it, and he pilots a plane.
It must be great.
And there's a scene where he falls through the ice and can almost
Brian Denny
has hard-
almost falls through the
no,
ice.
the hero.
Oh, okay.
He has a hard time getting back out of the ice, finding the hole that he fell through. And those are the 3 things I remember about Never Cry Wolf.
Did you ever watch My Life as a Dog?
Yeah.
Because that was an early, also movie memory for me.
Yeah.
Not as shocking though. Not a Shocktober memory.
No, neither
No.
of these are shocking.
But, you know.
Okay.
But they got a dog and a wolf in them.
Yeah.
No, it was
correlation.
There you
there
go.
was
Okay,
no
I'll allow
dog.
it.
Actually, there was no dog in the movie I'm talking about. It's just
Wait, where was
coming
it?
of
Has-
age story.
has dog
I
right in
remember
the title.
Lasse Hallström's movie.
Yeah, where the kid
My
gets
Life as a Dog. He's
No, I know.
the kid
He
gets
morphs
cursed to
into a
turn into a
dog.
dog.
It's like the Shaggy.
Yeah, like the Shaggy DA or that my Pet Monster TV pilot
No, I
from
was-
years ago.
My Pet Monster.
Yeah.
I know there's no dog.
Wait, does he find a monster in the basement?
He thought there was
the
really
curse
a
gets
dog,
put on
you
him where he
guys.
turns into the My Pet Monster character.
Guys, what about your first movie memories?
I'm still thinking about My Pet Monster. My first memory is kind of a Shocktober memory. I remember going to see Ghostbusters as a little kid, and my mom covering my eyes for the
During
first
the blowjob scene.
The first, no, of course not. That's totally cool. It was the first scare when the librarian
library?
goes, and afterwards, like when we were in the theater, she covered my eyes, and I'm like, "What did it look like?" And her description was like Skeletor. So all moms out there, that's how you be a good mom, because I immediately knew what she was talking
And
about.
that she knew who Skeletor was is a big plus.
Exactly.
It looks more like a ghost of like a gorilla. Actually, that
have you
first-
never seen Skeletor? He is stacked.
Especially when the librarian has that ram's head staff.
Elliot?
I honestly don't remember like the earliest movie memory I have. Like, there's not a time going back that I don't remember.
So just
movies we go to the
mention
movies.
something you remember.
I mean,
that
I know the
was
first
good.
movie that I was ever brought to as a baby was Atlantic City, the Louis Malle movie. I think me and my sister, I think, were like a month old or 2 months old. And my parents just needed to go to the movies, so they brought us. And apparently, my sister cried and had to be taken to the lobby, whereas I was a gentleman and watched the film.
Ice cold.
Yeah, oh yeah, I was just totally emotionless.
Apparently, I cried my way through Empire Strikes Back, and my mom had to take me out of the lobby.
She was like, "This is the best one of the trilogy. You'll understand that when you're older." I remember.
But there's
Pretty
no
confident
space
that you
bears.
cried your way through most of
"What is
adolescence.
this? Wow."
Whoa.
Feed Hallie a couple martinis, and this is what happens.
I will say that if we're talking about shocking things, I've told the story in the past about when I was 8 or 9 years old and my dad borrowed a tape of RoboCop from his friend, and the opening scene where Edie 209 blows that guy's chest to pieces, how totally shocking that was to me as a kid. And I think it turned me into the sociopath I am today.
Yeah.
When you got up and ran around the room going whoop 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 whoop.
I do remember my older brothers forcing me into like a dark room and making me watch Poltergeist and Aliens, and I think that rather than like putting me off horror has like gave me a taste for
Yeah,
it.
well, it's
Yeah,
I never.
yeah. It's like when you force somebody to smoke an entire carton of cigarettes and they become a smoker for
Become a
life.
heroin
It's
addict.
like when you force someone to have sex with you and then they finally get really into sex.
What? What?
That's the Hallie Hagelin charm. She can say horrible things.
And it comes out adorable.
Just
I will.
kidding.
I will. I didn't have any older
JK.
siblings, so like I missed out on that. But I remember when I was a kid, I had a friend named Derek who had an older brother who was super into horror
He was
movies.
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, he was
Doing
he
an
wasn't
offensive
like,
kind
he
of.
wasn't really funny, but he was heartwarming.
He went on to become the best baseball player of all time.
But he
Okay, so can I
he-
say something about
Can I
Derek?
finish one thing? So he
Oh, for the first time, Elliot's like, "Can I finish?" Sorry, go on.
Derek had an older brother who was super into horror movies and would leave copies of like
Was his name
Fang-
Zach or Thad?
Yeah, it was Thad Zach.
Chet.
Thad Zach.
A real Thad Zach.
It was Zach.
But he would leave copies of Fangoria and like the boxes to horror movies he'd rented all
It's
over the
like
place.
my dream older brother.
And but it's like I would just see these like random images of gore lying on the floor in like the living room of my friend's house, and I was never brave enough to like pick up the magazine and flip through it and read the articles. But that was maybe that was my what?
Be a man.
Well, it was hard for me to be a man when I was like 7, but but I think that was my introduction to like horror. Was these isolated glimpses of people's faces torn off or like their skin blowing up or whatever.
You never. So I feel like it was a pretty classic experience in a young girl's life that you would go to a slumber party.
And get your period.
No, you would go to a slumber
And
party.
your mom would have to pick you up because you would pretend that you had like, oh, I'm supposed to go to church tomorrow, so I better go home. But
No.
really, it's because you were a woman now.
You went to a slumber party. Somebody had like a real, like drama horror movie. Somebody had Faces of Death, and I was the one who had Alive. We watched Alive at my slumber party for my 10th birthday.
That's
and like,
crazy.
yeah,
This is a girl thing. Girls do this. Guys don't do this so much. When they're older, I guess they get together with their friends, just watch horror movies all night.
And they
but
watch pornography.
But when I was like
But like-
10, I totally would not do that.
no, I would be way too scared.
When I was like 10, I had a birthday party where I showed Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, and my friend didn't like it, so he left. Like, we got in a fight, and he had to leave my birthday party because he didn't like Nausicaa.
When I was 10, I think we went to see like the Ninja Turtles movie in the theaters.
Did you play light as a feather, stiff as a board?
yeah.
That's awesome.
Little
But I
girls have
also
this-
do remember walking in on my brother's slumber party when they were watching a porn movie.
Yeah.
That's
and
a
they-
you remember
weird
what-
slumber party.
Do you remember what
No
porn
offense.
it was?
It involved like a money shot, and I remember when it happened, they were like, ah! And I remember the
Wait,
laugh.
they're laughing. and
That's
Yeah.
weirdly enough my O face is laughing and clapping.
laughing and applauding. Yay, I did it.
I'm
So
the
like a
best,
real
I'm the best.
disingenuous laugh.
That's right.
I mean, even at the time when I was very young, it felt like, all right, you guys are saying this is funny, but I think there's a lot
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
feelings going on.
You walked in and you went, okay, guys, just be honest and whip it out. We all know what you want to do. If you excuse me, I've got some My Little Ponies to play with.
I had a diary entry to write.
That was the kind of thing my college roommate freshman year used to do, is that he would watch porn and be like, this is hilarious. Look at that. That's crazy. What? And it was like, just masturbate to it. Like, I'm not going to judge you. Like, come on.
I mean, not while I'm here.
I mean,
but
I don't want to
just
be in the
general.
room, but like, don't pretend you're
Don't
watching
chase
it
me out of the
ironically.
room by masturbating or anything. You
Don't-
fucking castle freak.
You're gonna watch something ironically. It's not pornography.
No. We would watch like Bloodsport or Best of the Best, ironically.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bloodsport was actually a really good movie. One of my actual early movie memories. I don't remember.
Is when your parents took you to go see Bloodsport in the
No,
theater.
when we rented it from Video Variety.
Video variety.
Yeah.
We've got a
We've got
variety
all
of videos.
types of movies, from blood sport to pornography.
I mean, I have such an early memory of Video Variety that I remember being a child and like hugging someone's legs and a man looking down at me and it not being my dad.
Oh,
It's like, okay, here's Bloodsport. Get the fuck out of here.
And you were like,
Check this
I don't
out,
want
kid.
to. I don't want him to know that I'm doing that. I was made a mistake. I'm robbing you.
Yeah.
Hand me your
It's
wallet.
like when you accidentally call the teacher mom.
I'm stealing your leg. This is my leg now.
Who's the leg now, dog?
So, We should
Recommendations.
get on to
Now
our
what do we
final.
do?
This is going to be the longest episode
yeah,
ever.
especially because there's an intro that
Mamma mia.
for a Max Fun intro. But anyway, so this is where we recommend
Split
movies.
in half. Save some for later. You know,
Yeah.
listen to some
Put
of
it in
your
your
lunch
fridge.
For
break.
next Halloween.
Treat this like a
Yeah.
Thanksgiving turkey.
So this is where we recommend
Flophouse sandwiches for a couple days after.
movies.
Eat it and then at midnight go back and listen to some more.
and then turn into a gremlin.
Don't turn into a gremlin.
An AMC Gremlin.
So this is where we recommend movies that we actually liked rather than the movie we watched. For Shocktober, if we can, we're going to recommend some horror stuff. But if we can't, fuck it.
We make the rules. You're not the boss of us.
But Elliot, what do you got?
I'm going to recommend 2 movies. Boom, but I'm going to do it quick. This is a movie about a scientist who gathers together a bunch of misfits to do a psychical...
Misfits of Science?
Misfits of Science, exactly, to do a psychical experiment. So I'm going to recommend 2 movies that do that much better. The first is a movie I thought for sure I had recommended, but when I checked the Flophouse recommendations website, it didn't seem to come up. So I'm going to recommend From Beyond, from Stuart Gordon, Stuart Wellington's favorite director.
Favorite director, although
Even
he has
after
also crushed my heart and soul.
Yeah, by giving us the truth behind Ding Dong Gate. From Beyond is loosely based on the H.P. Lovecraft story of the same name and involves a group of scientists who are creating a device that can see and interact with the dimension that vibrates at a different wavelength than ours and is full of horrible creatures. And it is a super fun, super gross, like movie full of wet special effects, I guess I'd call it. There's so many special effects in it that look like latex plastic monsters just slathered in goop. It's pretty great. It
sounds good to me.
I may have told this story before on the podcast, but I remember the first time I ever had a kidney stone, I was alone on 4th of July weekend, and my wife was out of town, and it was super painful. I felt like my body was attacking me, and I was like, I'm just going to watch a movie. I still haven't watched From Beyond yet, and I was like, this movie gets what I'm going through. Just a bunch of people whose bodies are fighting against them.
I was stuck home once with after I had a surgery because of a broken finger, and my mom, in my drug haze, I watched a movie my mom rented, which was Body Parts, starring Jeff Fahey, and it was a similar situation.
But yeah, around the time Jeffrey Combs sucks a guy's eyeball out of his skull and then is like, what am I doing? I was like, yeah, this movie gets what I'm going through. The other movie I'll recommend is more of a older classic, and that is another guy gets a bunch of people together in a haunted house to find some ghosts with his research movie, and that's The Haunting, the Robert Wise movie.
Sure.
It's a nice classic early 60s chiller. It's, I think, one of the best, if not the best, of the haunted house movies in general. There's some real super creepy parts, and it holds up very well for a
And
movie.
beautiful cinematography from Robert Wise, the cinematographer.
It's a gorgeous movie. Yeah. Did he do the cinematography also?
I don't. But
No,
that's,
it's
he
according
started
to this.
out as a
According to this,
cinematographer,
Davis
right?
Bolton. He started as an editor.
Oh, okay.
He edited Citizen Kane,
Well, forget
Magnificent
what I
Ambersons. Yeah, but no, but it looks great, and it's a really spookifying movie. So From Beyond, if you want something a little splatterier, and The Haunting, if you want something classy but still scary.
I'm gonna quickly, because I don't have a movie. I don't have a horror movie that I watched recently that I really liked. I watched The Sacrament. It was okay, not enough to recommend, but I have watched a couple of episodes of the French series The Returned, about an isolated.
So we can recommend TV now.
Yeah, sure. For the purposes of
What
this,
about movie trailers?
Okay, why not? But no, this is a French series. It's available on Netflix streaming. It's about an isolated French mountain town where some dead people come back to visit.
To visit, just check in,
Yeah, just
see how
hang
everybody's
out.
doing.
You know, shoot the shit.
Oh, that
But-
store closed down. That was a toy store when I was alive. Now it's a shoe store. All right, I'm dead.
But they come back several years after they died, unaware that any time has passed. But the people who have lived on and had to, put these deaths behind them know, obviously, that these people are dead. And it's a series that focuses a lot on mood and atmosphere And the horror of it is not that these are zombies. The horror of it is the real emotional horror of these people dealing with what it's like for this mystery like to have occurred, like both for the survivors and for the dead people who realize, holy shit, I died and now I'm coming back to a world that I no longer fit in.
But are the zombies super scary?
There is one like super creepy like little kid who doesn't talk at all, and I don't know what his deal is yet because I'm only 2 episodes in. But only 2 episodes in of an 8-episode first season, I can say it's very good. The returned French TV series.
Hallie, Shocktober recommendation.
Okay, Shocktober recommendation. All right, before Pet Cemetery, but also involving Hillary Powers. The movie that first scared me deeply was the hit film, I'm sure you all remember it, Witchboard. The original
awesome.
Witchboard. And I would like to recommend it because it was pre-Paranormal Activity, really making use of the materials that scared the shit out of you. It was also starring
Tawny Katane.
no, Tawny Katane was not who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Stephen Nichols, who was Patch on Days of Our Lives, a very pivotal character. He doesn't actually wear a patch. He doesn't wear a patch in
Like a patch of
Witchboard.
a beard.
He doesn't wear a patch in Witchboard, but he does wear a patch on Days of Our Lives. But I will say, scared the shit out of me. Many nightmares.
Days of Our
Original-
Lives? Or Witchboard?
Both.
Okay.
But I'm recommending Witchboard right now.
So wait, what was the name of your
which
what was
board?
the name of your that board?
Oh yeah.
So it's
What was
about
the name of your friend that introduced you to
about a
horror
Ouija
movies?
board.
Hillary Powers.
Because my wife had a friend when she was growing up named Jennifer Hudson, not the actress. So I feel like there's this like trickster spirit who goes around introducing young girls to horror
to
movies.
Witchboard?
Yeah.
To Witchboard
To horror
and
movies?
other horror
Yeah,
movies.
it's called-
Taking Many
It's
Guises.
called Friends of Girls.
Um,
There are a number of stories my wife has told me about, like the girl she knew she had friends with, who was friends with, who was like the bad girl who got into trouble, but she was my wife's friend, and she introduced her to things that she wasn't really old enough for.
You know
and
what?
she
Her
has
name
like,
was Hallie.
but she has like 4 or 5 friends that she's told me
No,
about by now.
that was
think my
never
wife just
me.
ran
But
with
I
the
will
rough
not say.
crowd.
I want to say that the person who Hillary Powers, I am friends with on Facebook, and I will say she's leaving an enviable, inspirational life. Hillary Powers, you overcame those horror movies, and I think you're doing it well. So rock on
Rest in peace.
with your bad self.
May the force be with you.
Oh, that was an interesting twist that Dan dropped. Oh, thanks for that. So I'm going to recommend a movie that I swore I've recommended before. It's not one of. Okay, well, I don't give a shit. It's The Hidden. I'm going to recommend
That
the
could
movie.
be a horror movie if you were caught up in that scenario. If your body was taken over by some kind of slug aliens.
So, as Elliot said, it's a movie about a slug alien that comes to Earth, takes over people's bodies, and then that person goes around on a killing spree because the alien is a horrible alien criminal.
That's one of the things I love about that movie is that it's not just like an alien that controls you; it's an alien criminal.
Yeah,
in
so-
space they have a crime, and this escaped criminal is taking people over.
So-
Got Kyle MacLachlan.
So, yeah, Kyle MacLachlan
Features the music of Concrete Blonde.
plays a space cop.
Who's recommending this movie, Dan?
Sorry.
And
I
he's a-
appreciate the
he
recommendation.
gets as a FBI agent. This is a pre-Twin Peaks.
He's a space cop who inhabits the body of a recently deceased FBI agent.
Thanks. And then the Earth cop, who's like a no nonsense blue collar type, played by Michael Nouri. The two of those guys chase down this alien, no good Nick. And there's some really great shit. I think my favorite moment is when as pointed out by a mutual friend of ours, Bill Hickey, is when the alien inhabited stripper falls off of, after I think she's riddled with bullets and falls off of a rooftop. You can very clearly see the crash mat when the stunt double falls off the roof. So I totally recommend watching The Hidden, and it's very clearly the inspiration for New Line Cinema's Jason Goes to Hell, a.k.a. Friday the 13th, Part 9.
It is?
Yeah, because that's totally a ripoff of The Hidden,
right.
where Jason, as a worm, inhabits people's bodies and goes on killing
You
sprees.
think it's possible someone had The Hidden revamp script and it wasn't getting made, so they just turned it into a Jason script?
Or like a Hidden 2.
Because there was a Hidden 2, wasn't
Two
there?
Shades of Blue.
Whoa, there's a Hidden 2?
Thought so.
Let's
Maybe there
finish
was
up this podcast.
Dial it up.
So,
How is
so what's,
making this stretch it out?
Yeah, The Hidden 2.
so what's
Because this is not already the longest podcast we've ever done.
what's the next step of this podcast?
The next step of this podcast
Oh,
is
as
saying
we
goodbye.
end it.
do we make our condolences, our acknowledgments?
No, we just
How does
say,
Max Fun end a podcast, Dan?
we just ends it, buddy.
Well, let's say it's Shocktober, so it's time once again to close the coffin. Slam shut the crypt door.
dead.
Dang.
Close the gates of Flophouse Cemetery. Clang. And lock them up tight.
Go.
For spirits, ghouls, goblins, skeletons, creepazoids, pervazoids, schools, fools, moles, goals, rolls, and rolled gold pretzels roam the earth. Let's leave them behind for tonight, for who knows when they may reemerge 2 weeks from now.
All right. Well,
The next episode of
The Flophouse.
Shocktober Flophouse.
starring me, Dan McCoy.
Me, Stuart Wellington.
Special appearance by Elliot Kalin as himself.
And
And longtime host, Hallie Haglund.
Wait a minute.
good night.
Oogans.
Gary.
So do you know this Merlin Mann guy?
He's a very popular internet personality. He did a podcast called You Look Nice Today, and he does a lot of he does a new podcast that's a more productivity based thing.
He was trying to get me to listen to one of his shows.
Who's this?
Merlin Man.
Merlin Mann.
I don't know who that is. Some kind of, is that like
an
a
internet
guy
personality.
bitten by a wizard? Now he has the powers of a wizard as Merlin Man.
Half man, half Merlin.
Because Merlin himself was a demon.
Really?
Well, some say.
Is Gandalf a demon?
No, Gandalf is a wizard.
Mithrandir?
I don't know what that is.
That's Gandalf.
Everyone's got 300 names in Lord of the Rings. Bilbo Baggins, who was known to the elves as Scrivener, and who the orcs knew as Thorndragger.